It's going. Okay, I think we are live. So, hello everyone, and welcome to another night of Tribute Talk. We have most of our regulars on tonight. We've got Jerry, we've got AJ, we've got Chase, and we also have Ronnie back from jabberjays.net.
Hello.
Holly sadly isn't on tonight, so we miss her. But we are gonna have a fun night, I think. We don't have too much to talk about ballad related, although I feel like I always kind
We'll
of think
talk for a while.
And then there's always things to talk about. And I mean, I just kind of quickly thought through a list. So if there's anything that's come up in the last week that I've missed, let me know so we can, dissect it in full. But I kind of thought the first thing we should talk about is Tom's hair.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Because Tom posted on his Instagram, on his stories, a full picture of his head and his hair while eating a croissant. So I feel like there are things to talk about.
My theory is that he probably just wanted to post about the pain au chocolat, but then part of me feels like it was like a passive aggressive way of letting us know, like, it's toned.
I think so.
100%.
It totally was.
Here's his way of quieting down the fandom, I think.
Yeah. I'm here for it. Love it. Love it. That's all I got.
Which, I mean, you've loved it from the beginning, so
I want that credit.
Also, I think there was a good point that was made earlier this week where somebody had said that Tom's hair was wet in that promo image that they released, which is why it probably looked darker. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think I hope that they didn't post that picture and then see the fan reaction to it and then change it or toned it. But I don't think that's what happened. But still, it does look so much better in that picture. Even if it's something that he had to leak himself, it's fine. We'll take what we can get.
For sure.
Yeah, I like it.
It looks really good. He looks so I was watching The Gilded Age the other day, and he's in one episode. And the entire time I was like, I can see him being a mean boy. He just looks like he's gonna be mean. I can just tell. I'm so excited to see his performance in this, though.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm gonna watch Billy the Kid again.
I need to watch that.
It was pretty good.
How was he in it?
Yeah.
No.
He was good. There's definitely some scenes where I can really imagine him as Snow. So I think it's a good watch. You'll see what I'm talking about. There's a couple of different scenes that almost it's like this is an audition for Snow. So I think he did a good job. It's very Snow-like.
Okay. Yeah. The pause has me a little concerned, but what is it on again? I'm sorry. I probably should look this up, but
Epix.
Oh gosh.
Oh,
yeah,
Epix. Such a weird streaming service for that, I think.
You gotta pay for Epix just for that. But
I think Epix
what
also
else
has
is on Epix?
I think they're the only streaming service right now, at least in North America, that has all the Hunger Games movies on it.
True, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe there was some sort of deal going on there. I don't know.
It definitely is, because I remember on one of the Lionsgate quarterly calls when we were scraping crumbs of information together, they had mentioned something about Epix, or it was Stars.
Stars,
yeah.
Way,
oh yeah,
Stars. I think it was both. And I just remember us being in the chat being okay, nobody cares about this. Just talk about Ballad.
But honestly, I think it looks really good though. I'm glad that he's kind of calmed down some fears, even if I feel like Lionsgate should just release another promotional image. We know that they're taking
without wet hair.
Yeah.
We need a Tim Palin promo photo is what we need.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Do I need to
I feel like they're probably doing those in Berlin.
Yeah.
100.
Because
Is Tim
everybody's
Palin
coming back.
on? Do you think like is he going to be involved still?
He is.
I
Yeah.
think
He's
so.
a
I think
Oh, thank God.
he's listed.
Oh,
yeah.
thank God. Okay, good. No, his
Yeah.
photographs are beautiful. Like absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And
I
I'm
was
sure he
telling
wants to
Tina-
be involved like that the same way again.
I hope so.
I was telling Tina that I'm ready, and another friend, I was like, I am ready for the problematic crush. I'm ready.
I'm so excited though either way. I'm glad that he just calmed our fears, I feel. And we just have to see what the acting is like. I'm a little concerned now, honestly.
Also, because
No,
he posted,
it's not okay. I have to clarify because what gives me pause is not anything related to his role as Snow. I'm just not sure what his acting is like. Like if he were to do something totally different.
Yeah.
So
Because,
that's
like-
just it's not relevant to this
Right.
movie. I'm not sure how like what his acting is overall, but I feel like a lot of the things I've seen him in, he's very similar, and I feel
Yeah.
like it works for Snow. So
Right.
that's what I mean about the acting. Like I think it's gonna be great for this role.
It's hard to imagine though, I think. I mean, I've not seen Billy the Kid, but I still just in that one Gilded Age episode, I mean his lines are very direct, kind of like Snow, I
Mhm.
guess. But it was just kind of hard for me to imagine what he was going to sound like. Like I couldn't really imagine him saying any of the lines, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like his small part in the Gilded Age though.
Oh, so
think
good.
it's
That part
good.
made me so sad. That
Yeah.
poor banker.
I was like,
Oh,
no, come back.
no, literally.
You're so cute. Come back.
Literally, when he was cast as Snow, like I was like, "Who is this?" And then when I looked him up on IMDb, I was like, "Oh, he was that cute kid on the Gilded Age."
that was my exact reaction. It's like, oh, this will work.
The other reason why I feel like it was partly passive aggressive is that he made the croissanticles is what he called it. He made it like a whole highlight on his account, and I'm like, okay.
I'm gonna
Okay.
be honest though, I do get disappointed by a pain au chocolat on occasion. Like they always
Because
look better than they taste because there's not
here-
enough chocolate inside for me, at least.
Yeah, here in the US, I have yet to find a pain au chocolat that works for me in the way that it does in the motherland. But no, that's real. I'll still get them. Like Maison Kaiser doesn't exist anymore. It was like-
R.I.P. R.I.P.
I know.
I love that
It was-
place.
It was absorbed by Pain Quotidien, which is like a separate franchise, but I guess they sort of merged because of the pandemic. And that's like the only place I'll go, and it's like the closest, but even still, it's like if you don't go like in the morning, you get like the stale ones, and it's just not it. It's not it. And like the thing is, like in France, we have like little bakeries all over the place, like local, like small business bakeries all over the place. It's just like normal, but that's not a thing here in the US. And I think that's the main issue.
Well,
Anyway.
I feel like whenever the premiere happens, if any of us gets to go, we need to
Oh my
hand Tom
God.
a croissant.
Yes. I was telling Dearest Mockingjay, because we were talking about it, and I was like, I will summon all of my French heritage and bring him all the pain au chocolat that he may require. Yeah. And if it's in Europe, I feel like there's a good chance of being able to bring like decent ones. Although he's in
Like-
Europe currently, I guess, and he was disappointed, so I don't know, but
I was about to say, like, you'd feel like since they're, I think, still in Germany, like
yeah.
it's kind of close to France. I feel like they'd be good pain au chocolat there, but who knows? I love how we're talking about just the croissant saga
Very-
I mean,
going on.
it's a big deal to Tom, so
It is. It really is.
if it's a
I mean,
big
or-
deal to Tom, it's a big deal for us.
Or is
Exactly.
it? Or is he just using it as a front for his little hair debut? I mean,
I know.
But
I'm
then he
waiting for
goes
him
and
to like
posts,
update
like-
it again.
he posts another story of him like he was at a racetrack. And,
yeah. It's
Yeah.
like he's wearing a hat. Like, come on.
That was
Give the people what they
impressive.
want.
Yeah, that was like just like a genuine post, I feel like. But the
Yeah.
because he didn't have to put himself in the picture with the croissant if he didn't want to. Like, you know what I mean?
No.
Like
Yeah.
I was like, you and the timing the timing and the fact that he made it a highlight. I'm like, sir,
I love it.
I know, I'm here for it. The pettiness.
The racing thing seemed like fun. I mean, not my cup of tea, but it seems like a good time.
I mean, yeah.
I'd go see that, especially if Tom was there. I'd definitely go see it.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. So another photo that we got, I mean, we were all talking about the dog tag that Tom is wearing in the photo from last week. And it seems like that's the same image that's on the side of the
Oh, yeah.
Peacekeeper trucks.
Yeah, what the heck is that? Like, what's going on there?
I still don't understand what it is. It's like sort of a butterfly kind of, I don't know, just interesting design. But I guess that's the Peacekeeper symbol.
Which would make, I guess it makes sense that there's a Peacekeeper symbol. I mean, there's symbols for everything, it seems, in the Hunger Games universe. So I don't know, like, it just looks weird. I mean, I like it, but why a butterfly sort of thing?
Yeah, it doesn't really connect with anything,
No.
that we've
Does
seen.
anyone have like that post handy?
Yeah.
Mm,
Yep. I got you.
Okay, because I want to kind of analyze it real quick.
I'll send it in the chat.
I honestly feel like the
If I know how to do
butterfly
that.
kind of
Oh,
goes
Taylor.
well
Taylor.
A
with
wild
peace.
Taylor appears.
What? Oh, sorry.
Hello.
Welcome.
I was just saying, like, I feel like if they're gonna have a peacekeeper symbol, the butterfly goes really well with propaganda because they're like called peacekeepers. Butterflies are supposed to be nice and peaceful, but really they're like vicious. So I feel like it goes well with the propaganda aspect of their country. But that's just me.
No, I dig
Sure.
that.
For sure. Oh, thanks, bud.
Did you get it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, I mean,
It
it's
also
so
looks like
hard
an
to tell,
H.
but
Like,
yeah,
at least on the truck.
it's like an X with a line in the center, but it could also be like, because I was trying to see if you could see like a P and a K in it, like peacekeeper or something.
I did the same thing.
Mm.
But it just seems kind of like non-specific, at least at this point in time. And I don't remember anything in the book describing any kind of symbol, but it's also been a minute.
No, I looked back. I couldn't find anything about it.
Yeah, this might just be like a movie thing. I want like a clearer shot of it. I mean, I know that's not gonna happen for a while, but like because I feel like it's clearer on his dog tag, but even then, I don't know.
Do you know what? I just had this thought. It reminds me kind of like the District 13 bandanas, like how it's also a map of District 13.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't want to say that it's like a map of District 12 or whatever, but it's giving that sort of vibe. I don't know. It might be some sort of, I don't know. It's just
It's like weird because I don't want it to be like just a non-specific, like, oh, it's just like a symbol, like just for the sake of
Yeah,
being
like,
able
just
to identify it
there.
on
Yeah.
screen. I want it to like mean something or have more clever like graphic design or something. But I also feel like, I don't know, like if it's not something in the book, I don't feel like the movie would go out of its way to try to explain it, other than it's just like all you need to know is that this symbol appears on Peacekeeper uniforms, vehicles, I imagine buildings, that sort of thing, just to sort of identify it visually, maybe. But
I
don't
feel
know.
like that
It
they would
feels
use like the Panem seal, like the
yeah.
I feel like because like in the original movies on like the back of like the trucks and stuff like that, it was like the capital seal, and it is kind of reminiscent of like a rudimentary capital seal, but like I don't know, like who knows what this is. I really hope they explain it though.
It's kind of weird to me that the capital seal isn't on everything. Like, why would we have this
Yeah.
No, I
as
agree.
opposed to that? Because to me, it almost feels like, from what we've seen so far, it's like a a Panem that's like just forming almost, but
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
been around for so long. I don't know.
unless like
It's weird to me.
unless like the capital symbol becomes more prominent over time as like Snow like basically puts his foot down as far as like the capital's power over the rest of Panem. Like maybe at this time of like Valid, it's not as pronounced yet.
I mean,
And
the only
that's
time
just,
that
like his
I
thing.
agree. I agree because like the only time we've ever seen the capital seal, at least from set photos, is that like FedEx Kinko's poster that they put on a side of like a
That's on the
plywood.
list.
Like, and that's the only time we really ever see the capital seal. So I feel like you might be right about that, AJ.
It just
Maybe.
makes me really wonder what the country was like and life was like before the dark days.
Yeah.
It
And like
seems
what
very
that transition
Soviet.
is.
It
Because
seems
in my
very
mind it's
Soviet.
like, oh, it was always pretty much the same, but like now we have the Hunger Games. And clearly
Mhm.
that's not like there's more to it and there's a culture that like forms and changes over time, but I don't know, I've
Well,
just never
actually,
Yeah.
thought about this stuff.
I have a good thought about that when we circle back to Mockingjay, towards the end of chapter 6. But I agree. Like it seems like that things were normal, and then all of a sudden shit kind of just hit the fan. I'm sorry, I don't know if I can say that. It's interesting. Like the world building though that Suzanne Collins does is so good though. So like that plus Francis Lawrence, I think we'll get a good picture of at least what the Dark Days were like, and or post Dark Days. Because I mean, the Dark Days are only 10 years before, 11 years before Ballad takes place.
Mhm.
So stuff couldn't have changed that much. So I mean, guessing by the aesthetic that they're going with this movie, it seems very like Soviet, like sort of
Mhm.
situation. One of the other set photos too, that with like the Panem train, which I'm sure we'll get to, the lettering looks very like communist Soviet Union lettering. It's very interesting to me. I think it's cool how they kind of like went back to that.
Yeah, I just can't wait to see everything like all together in the film. You know, we're getting these bits and pieces, and honestly, I'm kind of having a little bit of a hard time like seeing the vision. Like I'm not
Same.
upset about anything. It's just I want to see it in its completeness, you know?
I thought when the set photos came out that I would have a better idea of what it would look
Right?
like, but honestly, I'm more confused than ever.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
I just want to see the capital.
Same.
Yeah, that's like a whole
I
other
need to
thing.
know that. Yeah, I know. It's very much its own thing, but I don't know. Like the District 12 thing doesn't bother me as much, only because like from the original movies, like there's so little that's actually filmed in 12, like you get a little bit before in the first movie, a little bit in Catching Fire, and then it's gone. I mean, you see 12 again once it's bombed and stuff, but like you don't see a whole lot of it. And to me, I mean, I know when we went to like Henry Mill River Village and they're like, oh yeah, the bakery's literally across the street from Katniss's house, like, but that's just like the filming location. That's not necessarily how it's mapped out. We don't actually know a lot about the layout of 12. And I know it's supposed to be like the smallest district or something, but I feel like there's definitely plenty of it that we didn't see. And I'm guilty of this, though. I have to constantly remind myself, like, this is 64 years or 60 years, whatever, before Katniss. Like, I feel like, how people say, like, oh, 300 BC, like, before Christ, like, BK, like, before Katniss. And, like, that would be bound to change, at least a bit. But I'm so curious to know what the capital looks like, because I know that's going to be very different than what we've seen in the past. And I feel like, I mean, I don't know. I have this idea that because the capital is not the big, opulent, fancy thing yet, it'll match more, question mark, like maybe a little bit more cohesive and maybe give us like a better sense of what Panem as a whole is like,
Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
I'm also wondering if like we'll get shots like kind of how there was a little bit in Catching Fire, like when they're on the train kind of going through the districts and you get little glimpses. I know Snow doesn't stop and I think he stops in 9 for like
9,
you
I
said.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
But,
my
like,
district, so I
Train
remembered
montage.
it.
Yeah, that's something I want a train montage, even if it's just like quick little like out of the window view, but of just like different
Please.
districts.
Yes.
Like a
Because-
decrepit
Gosh.
city, like
Yeah,
because
anything.
I think that's what he says in Ballad. I think where he like talks about how he sees a like destroyed city from the window, from the train
Mhm.
window, and Katniss
Yeah, like,
also says
yeah.
something like that. I think in
Yeah.
the first book as well. And I'm just like, give me my destroyed city. I want to see which one she sees. Like that'd be so cool. That'd be so neat. And like, I don't know how far in the future the Hunger Games takes place, so it'd be
Mhm.
interesting to see like with the kind of decay that's on the buildings and stuff like that, like how far in the
Yeah.
future at least the people in the movies that make the movie like think that it is, if that makes sense.
That was definitely something about like the ballad book that like I feel like was a missed opportunity, was like world building of other districts. I feel like there was opportunity there to explore at least one other district, even if it's just for like one chapter or like half a chapter, but just to get like an actual sense of the rest of it. I was like, oh, new Panem book, cool. So I know we'll be in the capital, but maybe we'll get to see something else along the way. And then it's like capital and District 12. I'm like, okay, well, guess not. But yeah, I don't know. It'd be cool. Jerry, you were gonna say something.
Oh, I don't know why, but like when I first read Ballad and that scene was going on with them on the train looking at the dead cities, I don't know why I thought of St. Louis and the Arch. Like I thought that
Yes.
was
That'd be so
I thought that
cool.
was in the actual book, and when I reread it, I was like, so that didn't happen. I don't know why I thought about that, but that's what I imagined this whole time, seeing like a decaying city with just an arch like
Mhm.
that. I don't know why, but I think that would be really cool, or like a really cool Easter egg to
Yeah.
show in a movie or something like that.
Divergent vibes.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
God,
yeah.
that was the one good thing the Divergent movies did well, was show the decrepitness of Chicago.
Yeah, it would be cool to see like a famous American monument. It could literally be any of them, to be honest. And
Yeah.
just I mean, except maybe for Statue of Liberty, because I feel like that wouldn't make sense. But
I was about to say, AJ, we are underwater. Like we are
I know, I was
gone.
like Cloverfield Lane or whatever that movie's called, with like
Yes.
the, like destroyed Statue of Liberty. But I don't know, like a Mount Rushmore like overcome with like vegetation, or like like the St. Louis art, or I don't know. There's so many things that could be in there that would be really interesting to see. Famous mountain or canyon or river or something.
Yeah.
Something very easily recognizable, so that if they did throw it like in a little train montage, like the viewer would be like, oh snap, that place got wrecked. Whoa, that's too futuristic and dystopian. I'm really immersed in the vibe.
What if they show like a shot of Chicago and it's just like the opening
no.
of the Divergent movie?
The bean is just right there.
They're like interconnected.
It's the
I
same
would
world.
love-
No.
I was gonna say it's
Leave
the same
that
film
alone.
company now. I mean, we can do
I
it.
remember seeing that on Tumblr back in the day.
Same.
Like outside of like the perimeter of Chicago, it's Panem, and that's why like you can't go outside and whatever. And I was like, please God, no, I would hate that. But then they were like, oh, that would explain like the similarities with the districts versus the factions, and I was like, the faction system makes no sense. But anyway,
Absolutely none. We can go on that rant later, but I agree.
we
So,
need to do a Divergent watch along.
oh, I would love that.
Didn't we
Yeah.
do that already?
Well,
Yeah.
if we did,
I wasn't around, so I don't know. Let's do another one. I'll be around for it.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of trains, did we want to talk
Right.
about the train photo?
Yeah. Which it's kind of disappointing. It's just like a little piece of the train.
Well,
I
It's
feel
like
like
one
it's not
little bit
done
of
yet.
siding and then the door. I feel
I
like they're
think
gonna
they-
CGI the rest of it.
They
Yeah.
probably will, but like the lettering sends me. Like it's very I mean, I say this before, communist, like Russia. It's fascinating.
I feel like Chase had some thoughts about it if he wants to share.
I said it looked like a rat at, I said it looked like a rat at Disney World with the lettering.
A rabbit Disney World or a rabbit?
Ride.
Oh, whoa. Okay. Never mind.
Like the monorail or whatever that thing's called.
Yes.
That's all I can
Monorail,
think
I
about.
kind of agree. Which makes it feels so close to like, I don't know, like our time, but not, I don't know. It's one of those things that's just confusing me about just the whole atmosphere of it and like the time period. But it's cool.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was thinking about, like, we're going to talk about Mockingjay soon, but I was thinking about like how Plutarch was talking about how technology hasn't been as advanced as, or he keeps talking about like the technology the ancestors had, like nukes and stuff. Maybe they don't have enough, like, I don't know. Technology hasn't advanced as far as it should have in the future.
Mm.
I mean, they have hovercrafts, but like, that's about it.
I always thought of like, I don't know if you guys have seen the movie It Follows.
Yes.
I recommend it and I don't recommend it. But what I loved about that movie was the intentional ambiguity of the time.
Yes.
And I ended up reading about it because it messed me up really bad, like watching the movie. And I was like, was I tripping? Like, what's going on there? And I had to look it up. And it was really interesting that the creators basically, were like, even, knowing what season you're in or what year you're in is comforting to a viewer, and that having be switched up on you as background, not as like a plot point, adds to the unsettling feeling, which I thought was brilliant. But I love that, you can't tell when you watch that movie if it's happening like in the 90s, if it hasn't happened yet. Like, it's very vague. And like, I want to watch it again because I want to study that, but I also cannot see that movie again. But
it's such a good movie. I think the timeless aspect I agree with 100%, because like if they do that with this, I kind of think they went with that with the original trilogy too, though, at the same time. Like,
true,
District 12
with District 12. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just seemed very like 1930s Depression era.
Yeah.
And like in It Follows, the only time you see like a piece of technology is like it looks like a makeup compact.
Oh, the clamshell phone thing. Like the e-reader. Yes.
It kind of looked like a gadget that they would have in Totally Spies, but like in real life, like not animated. And that was incredible to me because it kind of reminds me of like when you watch like old movies that came out in, let's say, the 50s or something, but it's about the future and like how they envisioned the future to look like, like that's kind of what that reminds me of. And the Hunger Games and the first like few movies, like that's definitely like the impression that I got too. They're kind of mixing like our past, but mixing it with like how we think we would look, like our technology would look, the aesthetics and fashions and stuff that would like evolve in the future, and you mix it all together and then you get Panem. And that's, I don't know. I just think it's really cool.
It's really cool. I mean, I would definitely like, I just think that I can see the vision kind of with what they're going from like what we've seen so far. And I do think it's going to be a very different movie than the original trilogy. I mean, as we can tell, but I think it's definitely going to be a very stylistic movie, if that makes sense. Like Francis Lawrence has such a vision for this, and it seems to be, at least to me, like Eastern European sort of. I mean, also that's where they're filming too, so I mean, you can't, it's just where they're doing it, but it seems very influenced by that sort of design and architecture and stuff.
I can't wait to read articles or listen to interviews or something with, like set decorators and set production designers and stuff explaining about what their inspiration was and like why they went with that and stuff. Because it's like, I mean, we can theorize all day long. Oh yeah, this makes sense, you know, because whatever, like Panem's like a totalitarian, you know, nation, whatever. It makes sense to pull inspiration from that. But I want to know specifically, like why and whatever. So.
Wouldn't it be great if we got a movie companion?
Oh, I was
I
looking
don't think
through
that's
mine
gonna happen, but
literally looking through mine
even
yesterday.
unofficial one.
because we didn't get one for Mockingjay.
No, we didn't.
So
There's a lot of things we didn't get from Mockingjay.
I know.
Not at all. It's so upsetting. Which, like, that's the one that I'm most interested in, like, the filming of. Like, the whole shooting in Berlin, in Paris, like, that was so cool. And, like, we didn't get, like, anything. And, like, even on the behind-the-scenes features of the DVD, I'm just like, come on, you can give us some more. Like, it's...
I'm gonna
I just
need
wanna-
audio commentary.
No,
with,
literally,
like,
give me
I want a
every
full
detail.
documentary
Everyone.
series.
I need
every
Francis
second.
Lawrence. I need Nina. Get Suzanne on there, you know? Why not? Let's do a
God.
cast commentary. Let's, you know, get that.
I
all
just
the
want to know
books.
how I want to know how everything is done. It just is so fascinating to me, the whole like filmmaking process in general.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the since they're done doing the hanging tree scenes, somebody took a picture. I'm gonna send it in the chat if you haven't seen it. They put the hanging tree in a dumpster.
What?
Yeah.
Emily and I are gonna
Gosh.
fly over there right now.
No, I'm gonna
What?
send it.
And they
I
didn't ship
cried.
it to me so I could put it in my backyard.
No, literally. Okay, I just sent it. You just see
my
it just under
gosh.
some plywood.
It's gonna break
It's
my
just
heart.
like-
No. This is awful.
And I'm just like, no, don't get rid of that. I mean, at least they filmed those scenes, but still, I'm just like, that's so sad. I want
I'm gonna
it.
keep my eyes peeled on eBay for like people selling little like fragments of it.
Oh, I have from Etsy actually as a certificate of authenticity.
Oh
the
my
tree,
gosh.
the burning tree that fell on Katniss in the Hunger Games movie. I have a necklace made from that.
Oh my gosh.
That's so cute.
I'm
I love
insane.
I can't. Why didn't they ship this back to the US?
They should have kept it.
Why didn't
It
they
wasn't
put
that
this in the
big.
exhibition?
Yes.
Literally.
No, literally.
Especially because
Oh my
the exhibition
gosh.
folks said that they were preparing to absorb Ballad into the exhibition.
Wait,
That's
And
so
really?
it mentioned
dumb.
they wanted
So
to
dumb.
expand it. I don't know how they
Honestly,
would though.
this
because the
I
space seems
can't look
small.
at this. This
I
makes
know,
me want to
right?
cry.
I mean,
It really
it's
hurts me.
depressing. I'm sorry to bring this to y'all's attention, honestly. I found it right before we started recording, and I like almost cried. But I was like, this has to be a topic of conversation.
No, I understand you saw it, so we need to all see it. Solidarity. I get it.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. You guys, what if any of those propaganda posters find their way in the trash?
Oh no,
They
no,
probably
no, no.
were.
Let's not
They
do that.
probably were. I mean, they
No,
looked
no,
like they
no,
were
no.
just printed. I mean, they probably were. But like, I hope the beautiful ones, which, I mean, if we want to talk about the big, beautiful District 12 one, I'm obsessed with it.
That is cool.
I
That's
love.
not gonna fit in my house.
I
Doesn't
don't
matter.
listen. I will put it on the side of my apartment. I don't care. Like, it is so cool. It is so cool and very like just Soviet. I just the stuff is so interesting to me. I think it's cool how they kind of went with this direction.
What does it say? True work
True
is
work
District
is-
12.
Yeah. But like, what about the other districts? I mean, they're doing a lot of work there too. I mean,
Are they pitting the districts against each other?
That sounds
That-
crazy.
that's one way to do it. I mean,
Or, you know, throw them in an arena.
exactly. I absolutely love that poster.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
And you know, we're only going to see it for like 2 seconds in the movie.
Right? It's just going to be that shot. It seems like, so that's where they're getting off the train. Right?
I don't think so, because I think they're doing all the train scenes in Cologne. I think that's like when they're doing the reaping scenes. I think it's like near there, or like the other various like Hob or just Streets of District 12 scenes that they were also filming. I think it's just going to be in one of those. I'm not sure though.
I think that's where the train is, though.
I read that it was in Cologne. Like that was at the set. Like someone corrected themselves and said that was actually in Cologne.
There was definitely. Did you guys see the photo of? I forget his name, but he's like one of the photographers. He did the picture of the first look, and he's standing right there, and you see that propaganda in the background, and then I think it's the railroad tracks right next to him.
I didn't even look that deep.
I feel like it's gonna be the train, like, and they're getting off there, and then that's like in the background.
I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be like, it's like a welcome sign, like at an airport, but more fascist-y.
I don't know. I hope that's what it is, because like I just can picture the shot in my mind.
No, same now that you said that. He also at that picture of the photographer, he looks just so glad to be there. And we're also very happy that he's there. But also, why didn't he
so happy to be there too.
I would cry. But
like, can I just take that camera, please?
Literally. But like, why? They should just release another image, because clearly he's been taking some photos. They just need to release at least one more. That's all I need. It's like an addiction. That's all I need. Just one more. It's fine.
But I like the idea of him like getting off there, and then it's like there's some big propaganda, like District 12, because there's got to be something to be like, he's arrived. We're in District 12.
No, I dig that, and I honestly agree with you. That's such a good thought. It's kind of chilling.
I need the movie tomorrow.
I think this is what the entire podcast is going to be until November 2023. It's just like
it is.
We just have that, we just have that hanging over our heads. We're just like, okay, this is all fine and good, but like, we need the movie right now.
It'll be coming out tomorrow, and we'll still be like, I cannot wait for this. Like, 24 hours is too long.
You know what, guys? I feel like, when you're waiting for something to happen and you're so close to that thing happening, I feel like the closer you get to it, the longer it feels. So I feel like we'll be like a week out. We'll all be packing our bags to go over to the premiere. And we're just going to be like, oh my God, 6 days, 6 days, like, and like totally freaking out. And then it'll happen. And then we'll be like, guys, remember in 2020 when we had no information? Like, I already know that this like weird time isn't real phenomenon is gonna happen, and it's like already stressing me out.
I know.
But
I'm already nostalgic for the year that hasn't happened yet.
Same.
I was scrolling back through my own feed recently because I was trying to find a post to show my friend, and I was like scrolling past the post I made where we're like, we got the release date, and I was like, oh my God, there was a time where that was the only information we had, or when we had like that little animated teaser trailer thing that already feels like such a long time ago.
It does.
Yeah.
But I can't wait. Like, I need to see Tom as Snow in the Capitol. I need that.
Yes.
Yesterday. I need
Lucy Gray at the Reaping.
Yes.
Yeah. I need Gaul and Highbottom. And I need Josh as Sejanus. I need that. I need to see it in my mind.
I would love a picture of Sejanus and Snow together.
I mean, same. Only for shipping reasons, but yes.
Literally. We're the same.
Sejanus is so gay. Seriously. It kills me. Like, when I read it, I was like, why do I identify with him so much? And I was like, wait.
We're gonna have to like, I miss, Tumblr is what it is nowadays, and it's still alive for certain fandoms. It's definitely not alive for the Hunger Games anymore, but I needed to come back.
I know, me too. That was
Ronnie, you and I are gonna like,
we're gonna start it,
but yeah, we're gonna resurrect it from the dead.
Let's do it.
I'm ready.
Did you guys a very reliable Hunger Games account? I think they're based in Brazil. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce their names. Oh my God. But they posted like a breakdown of like from a source that saw/heard them filming the hanging tree and reaping scenes, and they provided like some details on what they saw and heard.
Oh,
have you guys seen that?
This.
Okay, so they said, let me just read this whole thread. They recorded both Arlo's hanging and Sejanus. They recorded Arlo's, Sejanus, and Lil's hanging on the first day of recording. but they recorded. Sorry, the translation on Google not
Mm.
great. What I'm gathering is that they filmed the actual physical hanging on one day, but they separated the hanging, so it's going to be two scenes. So it's going to be like Lil and Sejanus for one scene, and then like Arlo and like the other miners or whatever for one scene. So I think we know that the hanging tree is going to be at least two scenes. Lil's actress in the scene where she runs into Arlo's before the hanging apparently had a very like sporadic and desperate air to her. Like she had a very like crazy performance. The translation that I'm getting is had a performance to make the viewer desperate along with her was the translation. So
Wow.
from what I could get from that,
I guess that.
and then it says on the second day of recording of the hanging tree, Sejanus and Lil's hanging was recording, of course, is according to the source. Josh screams well. Which which I'm like, oh
well,
no.
that's good because we've been wondering.
What a compliment.
It makes
You know,
me
some people don't scream so well.
No,
it's very true. And then the source goes to talk about the reaping. Oh, the Ma, that kills me. Oh my god. I knew he was going to die like right when he got to District 12, but I was like, don't kill him, just don't kill him. And then she did, and I was like, god damn it, Susan Collins, I'm so mad. Like he was the only good character. He's the only pure soul.
have nice things.
Literally.
No fun allowed.
No,
that's Suzanne's rule, is no fun allowed. Like I mean, you guys know the first rule of the Hunger Games is to be yourself and have fun. But then they go on to talk about the reaping, where they said in the recording of the reaping, which I guess in Spanish is the harvest.
Yeah, I keep seeing that in the on that account.
Yeah,
it's funny.
it's and they also call the hanging tree the hangman scene, and I'm just like, yes. She said in the recording of the reaping, Isabel, who plays the role of Marilet, knew how to put on a show with the screams and so on, just like Mayfair does in the book, which is good. And then they also said in the scene where Lucy Gray sings in the reaping, Rachel made a melancholy and dramatic scene. Both she and Mayfair did a very good job in their performances.
That's cool.
So
yeah, it all sounds very positive.
It does sound positive. I mean, that's all that's been posted, but I'm curious, like melancholy, like a melancholy reaping song, like I would much rather prefer that than just like her getting on stage and be like, you can't take this away from me, like that sort of thing.
Honestly,
like,
I am having such a hard time picturing it.
No, we can't. Like I don't think anybody can picture this in their head, and like I'm glad that people are paid to do that because I can't imagine this.
No, literally, like reading ballad, I was like, I'm reading the words on the page, but it's not computing. Like,
it's so cringe, but like, they're like the hanging tree, like when it was a Mockingjay. I mean, they did a good job with that. I don't know. Her songs are just always so kind of upbeat, seeming. So
yeah,
I can't imagine her just like going on stage and like grabbing the microphone and be like, all right, District 12, let's do this, and just like breaking into like a hot pop 100 song. Like it scares me. I don't think that's what they're gonna do, but still it freaks me out.
Plus it doesn't help, like, bless Santino Fontana, because this man probably was like, I just want to read this, I didn't sing. But like when you've heard the audiobook and he first of all does like
so bad
voice, but then it's also very flat. It's like spoken word or something. I'm like, oh.
all of his songs are so
he
bad.
Tried his best.
I can't with the Santino Fontana.
No,
he
he did not try his best. He did not try his best because like in the songs that are actual songs, he didn't even do the tune to them.
That's
like
true.
Maybe he wasn't allowed to. Maybe
and some of those songs cannot be
been
copyrighted though. Like the
Gem of Panem. He could have put his whole chest into that.
He could have. He could have his whole like. He could have.
No, I mean,
But-
I get it, but I'm like, the thing is, like, that man sings, so it's not like, you know, they hired somebody who's like just a narrator and like doesn't have known singing abilities. Like, the man sings.
And
But
he just goes off and goes like, Jen of Panem, mighty city. And it's like, shut up. Like, please.
because I remember like at least I'm fairly sure. I don't feel like I made this up, but like the audiobook for the
She sang in the
She
original
sang.
trilogy. She sang.
yeah. And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
different than what they did in the movies, but I appreciate that she did that.
Exactly. So it's
Um,
harder to imagine what those songs are going to actually sound
Yeah.
like in the movie. I trust it. I'm a little wary, but like, if it's going to be a somber scene instead of just like cringe fest 2023, like, I'll take that.
I'll take it.
I just don't want people to make fun of the movie. Like, if they do, I'm gonna be so mad. I don't want that. I don't want the movie to give like the general audience an excuse to make fun of it, because I will get defensive. Like, I will fight.
No, I feel that.
It's
I mean,
fine. I'll still love it. Who
I'll
cares
still
what
love
they
it.
say?
fans, like, we can make fun of it. I definitely agree. Like, non-fans are not allowed to make fun of it, but we are. It'll be okay.
We just have to wait for a trailer.
Oh my
Wait,
god.
Chase, was that your
Although-
No, that wasn't me.
Oh, wait. What's your
What?
It sounded like a of dissent.
It did.
I don't know.
Oh no.
It's hard to kind of notice things over Zoom calls to get context or whatever.
I feel like that's pretty much everything from the last week. Look at us like talking for almost an hour about like 3 things. I mean, there was also we kind of got a better look at one of the propaganda posters.
Oh,
Which kind of
the
had like the
nutrition one.
old, yeah, something
I
about
love
like
that one.
like nutrition program, which I guess is signing up for the games more times, right? Is that what it's advertising? Do we think?
I think so. Wait, I'm looking for this theory right now that I saw. I think it was Holly and I were talking about it actually. Let me see. Oh, Holly said it reminds me of Choreo using school lunches for food, and he talks about how during the war there was a lot of people that got food by going to school, like
Hmm.
some sort of like nutrition program, I guess. I love that poster though. Oh my god.
Yeah. Gotta get
It's
that
so
hunger
cool.
in the Hunger Games.
Literally. That was one thing that I kind of hate how they didn't really talk about in the movies, was like the idea of Tesserae. Like, they kind of did talk about it in the first movie, but like it kind of got dropped off after that.
Yeah,
But
sort of.
it's such a disturbing thing. Like, I wish it would have been more of, there would have been more dialogue about it.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of world building explanation
just-
things that didn't make it into the films.
God, there's so many.
But, you know, like Mockingjays. The
Ugh.
Mockingjay pit.
If they didn't delete that scene, if they didn't delete that freaking scene, everything would have been fine. Like,
I definitely feel like the Mockingjay pin backstory is the biggest infraction of the film adaptations. I'm cool
Really
with
is.
virtually everything else, but that to me is the only thing that bugs me, because I'm like, I get that it doesn't necessarily contribute to the overall story in a major way, but I feel like it just adds so much, like, and symbolically it's like a symbol of resilience because it's been in the arena multiple times and it comes out every time, you know.
yeah.
And that's such a good,
And she was as mocking
Symbol.
as the J.
yeah.
Yes.
You've got
Mhm.
that.
Oh my god,
you
that
know?
song.
Jerry, sing it.
I'm okay.
Is it Patti Smith that sings that song, which I think is so
Yeah.
funny?
Yeah. And then
Do you guys think?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, please go ahead. I was going to go off on another tangent.
I was just gonna say, like, to casual movie fans, it doesn't make sense as to why the Mockingjay pin is like the symbol of the entire franchise. Because if you haven't read the books and you're like, okay, she wears that thing in like 2 scenes, why is this like the symbol? Why is it on the cover of the book? You don't know unless you read it.
I'm hoping that they might like retcon that a little bit in Ballad, because I think that this movie, at least in the book, like it has there's a lot of focus on like what Mockingjays are and like how Snow feels about them. I mean, there might be a scene where you see somebody like forge a little pin with a Mockingjay and an arrow in the
way
background.
I would
like
freak out.
Like, I mean, they could do something like that, I'm sure, but I don't want to get anybody's hopes up or anything, but like I think with this movie, if they do spend the time on that sort of thing, then hopefully it'll come for full circle. But yeah, I think they should have explained it more in the book and like had more of or in the movie, and it had more of a kind of definitive storyline for the Mockingjay pin.
Yeah.
Do y'all think there's going to be a Ballad Mockingjay pin?
They're better.
I hope.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know, 100%. I want one so badly.
And where is it? Like, we could be using that for promotion right now. People would buy it right now.
Hey, Lionsgate, send me a PR package right now. Thank you.
No, literally. Like, I think everybody here deserves a PR package. Like, we are the hardcore fans.
We're promoting the heck out of this movie. They do something.
Literally, like, we are doing more
do
promotion
something. Make a pin that I can buy.
Literally.
Just give it to me free
Please.
and then sell it. Just give it to me free and sell it at Hot Topic. Like, please.
Yeah, give me a discount code. Give me something. Like, I'll do that. Honestly, for the Hunger Games, this is, we've discussed this, but I would do a lot of things for the Hunger Games. So, like, just
we've discussed that in full.
Yeah, just let me know like what the move is, and I'm there. Like just let me know what we're doing, and I'm there.
Which is why we spent like, God knows, like more than an hour on like 4 set photos.
I'm still looking at that picture of the hanging tree in the garbage, and
I'm so sorry to have brought that to your attention.
It's depressing.
So sad. It's so sad.
Hey, everybody listening, if you've seen the picture that we are talking about with the hanging tree prop in the dumpster, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Not by me, but just look into it. Okay, bye.
No, like literally, I should have put a trigger warning in front of it because like it is deeply upsetting. Like, why would they do that to our tree?
We just start a lawsuit.
Oh my God.
For depriving us of the privilege
of having the hanging tree in the Hunger Games exhibition.
Exactly.
Yeah, we should have been given the opportunity to like go pray to it or something. I don't know.
The hanging tree, like it's the hanging tree from the song.
Because it's not how I thought it would be in the book, like at least from the book. I just thought it would be in like a field, like
right, yeah,
like just like out there, and like maybe some like like 2 or 3 stools underneath the tree where like they would step up and like get hung or whatever. But like I was not expecting this whole performance of like a huge platform and like
I don't mind the platform around it because it's like, okay, it could be a tree in the middle of the woods and then they make a little platform around it, but the fact that it's like on the cement, like
it's weird. What? Like, why would they skip over that if they were cementing?
Like, the thing about that though is like, so we've seen like the set photo where they have that little like blue cap on the top, because like in my mind it's like this really big leafy and like shady, like it creates a lot of shade underneath it. At least that's how I read it, or like how I pictured it when I read it. We've just seen that like tree stump looking thing with the little CG, I imagine to be CG blue thing at the top, that I feel like they would have to like add something on, because they can't just leave it like that. I mean, hopefully not. What if it's just that? Like, 2 giant branches on the sides, and that's what
I
they use.
feel like all the branches are gonna be dead though.
That's what I imagined when I read
That's
the
what
book,
I
was that the
thought.
tree was dead. Like,
I feel like in all the fan art and stuff, it's usually a dead tree. It looks right to me. It's just in the wrong place.
it's in such a wrong place. I hope that they do a lot of digital magic to make it look
Maybe we won't even see
more-
the ground.
I
Yeah.
hope not.
It's,
That's what I'm
it's just gonna
thinking.
be. We can pretend it's grass. Like we don't know, but we will know while we're watching.
But I
just-
know.
I just don't want to see the big pools, the big like coal power pools, like next to the
community
Like I don't want to
pool.
see that. Yeah, like what is that? Like why
That's
is
the
that
lake.
The
like
country club.
God? That's for like the higher class people in District 12. They're the only ones that you can use
It's a
that.
spa.
It's what it looks like, and I do think visually that looks very stunning, but just contextually in the book, it's just like I don't want to see that. I hope that there's enough people around it where I don't have to see that.
Yeah. I just need more pictures. We just keep saying the same
we
thing.
need a movie. We need a movie. We just need a movie. Why are they frustrating us like this? It drives me insane. I can't.
I mean, I feel like we have to enjoy it though, because come November, we definitely won't be getting any more set pictures, and then who knows how long we're gonna have to wait until we get something official.
Yeah.
That dry spell is gonna drive me insane. I
It's
didn't
gonna
even
be
think about
so
it.
bad.
It's gonna be like the winter depression, like seasonal affective disorder, but hunger.
Yeah.
It'll be like the period right after the the war and right before the building of Panem.
When do we think we'll get a trailer? Like
I've
May?
been
Something
I've
like
been
that?
trying to
Yeah.
calculate. I think we'll get no. I think we'll get at least a teaser with like actual footage, even if it's quick. I think we're gonna get that at least in January or February, but I don't think we'll get a full trailer to like.
Oh my gosh, that's soon.
I because like this has a lot of interest. Like even though I feel like we are talking into the void a lot of the time,
Mhm.
this does have a lot of interest, and this is at the end of the day Lionsgate's biggest money maker. Like I mean
they keep saying that on their quarterly financial meetings.
Yeah,
like
so
this is our tent pole. This is our movie.
I mean it is, and like to draw interest for like stock reasons, capitalism. They're gonna release something at least before. I want to say by January. I kind of want to be hopeful and be like December area, but like I think it'll probably be like the beginning
I feel
of the
like
year.
that's too soon.
It's way too soon, but like they can cut little teasers very quickly. I mean, there's a Tom Cruise movie. I can't remember what it is, but it's coming out in like December of next year, and they have a trailer with a whole bunch of footage, but there's no sound to it because they haven't done any post-production on it yet. But they wanted to get that trailer out because they're like, hey, this is going to make a lot of money for us. So like if Lionsgate had to, they could release something with footage fairly recently. Like I know we're at least going to get a lot more first looks before the end of the year.
Just slap the hanging tree on. No audio.
Literally,
just clips,
no,
and then the hanging tree on top.
I think that would be so. I think that's honestly what the teaser is going to be. I think that's what the teaser is going to be.
It could even be just like an instrumental of the hanging tree,
or the hanging tree rebel remix. I mean, who knows?
Okay.
I would love that.
Deep in the Meadow Bower remix.
Oh my god, I would cry. Like,
I want a hanging tree trailer.
We're gonna get a hanging tree trailer, and I think it's gonna be a teaser. Like if I had to guess, honestly, and I think we're gonna get it sooner rather than later. I think it's gonna happen. I hope.
I'm gonna cry.
Same.
I'm crying right now.
Just thinking about it.
But at the end of the day, the movie doesn't come out till November next year, and I'm just like, what the heck? Like, give it to me. Can we just break into Lionsgate and just like force them to show us the movie? I mean, it's fine.
No, literally.
I mean, we can be the first pass, you know.
We can be the tester beta crowd.
Test audience, yeah.
Or we could just like do all. Which district was it in Mockingjay Part 1? District 8, where they bombed the dam. We could just do that about Lionsgate.
Oh my gosh.
For legal reasons, this is a joke.
It is a joke. It is a joke. It is a joke. 100%. I don't even know where to find anything like that. But also, I don't think that they'll have us in a dry spell for a very long time.
Hopefully not.
Ugh.
I'm just glad to hear that Sejanus' performance is good, because if you know
If you know, you know.
you know. I think it's bad to like publicly say it, but yeah.
Oh.
If you know,
No.
you know.
That was the most depressing thing to read for me, honestly. Like when I read that book in like a 12-hour span without taking a break, really. And when that part came up, I cried. I like bawled like a baby. I don't want to see it on the screen. I wish they would just
Snow,
keep him
breaks
alive.
down after that, and I really hope they keep that in, because that's where I was like, he was losing it and I was losing it. Like, I was angry, crying, and also like just sobbing. Like I could not.
But then he was just like, "Oh, let me take his stuff."
Yeah, 2 pages later, he's like, I'm good now. And I was like, I'm still here. I'm still crying. You can't stop.
Let me remind you, reader, who might have felt a fraction of sympathy for me in this moment, that I'm actually the worst.
Yeah.
Just so you don't forget.
That's the one thing that I hope that they keep with this movie, which I do have faith that they will, is that like Snow, it seems kind of sympathetic a lot of the time, but like at the end of the day, you're just like, oh my God, go like die. Like you're just the worst. You're just the worst person. Like rereading
he shows you regularly who he is.
Yeah.
And like there might be like moments where, you know, he's putting on a facade that he's not the worst, or there might even be genuine moments where you're like, maybe you're not the worst, and then you turn the page and you're like, no, you're the worst.
And like she wrote it in third person, so like if Sejanus was a bad guy, I feel like she could have said so. And Sejanus is like the most pure soul.
She's really dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the only thing that was infuriating about reading Sejanus' parts, was just like
he was very stupid.
Shut up. It was
from the first time he opened his mouth, I was like, oh, you're dead.
Yeah.
Yep.
I kept being like mentally nudging him in the ribs, like, shut up. Like, I love you, but shut up.
It's a secondhand embarrassment.
You know, Snow was though too. Snow tried.
Yeah.
Snow tried, but it was like selfish. I was more just like, Janus, be quiet. You're gonna get yourself killed. And then, well,
just the fact that he would like get up in the middle of class and be like, hey, Dr. Gall, this is all wrong. This is stupid. Like, I'm just like, shut up. Like,
Rough it down, please.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you could get killed. Like, I mean, I'm like, I know this isn't like the capital, like to the abuse level that it is in the original series, but like, you know, probably bad things are going down. And like, I would not challenge the head game maker in anything. Like,
that
like,
scene was
up.
so bad to read, like to read, because like he gets so mad that he tries to leave and the door's locked.
Oh, that
just,
part
like,
was so
there.
scary though. That part, like, I was like, oh wait, oh my God. Like,
it gives me the ick.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in this book that gives me the ick, but I hope that they will correct it in the movie. I'm praying that they'll correct it in the movie.
You know, in the way that like there's things that work better as a book than they do in the movie as a movie. I do believe the opposite is true too, where like the way that something is described with words makes it sound worse or more embarrassing or whatever than just seeing it, you know? So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm like, yeah, if he tries the door and it's locked, it doesn't end up being this thing where he's like, oh, like, you know, it gets all like frustrated or whatever. Just have it be like a quick thing instead of like, so Janus reached for the door and it, you know, rattled because it was locked. And like, I don't know, sometimes when you like explain something with words, it just feels like clunky and wordy, you know?
Not Suzanne. Never.
No.
Which brings us to Mockingjay, I would
Does it
say.
bring us to
Oh, yeah.
Mockingjay?
I don't know. I mean,
Maybe.
maybe.
We'll
Honestly,
find out.
maybe. If we end up going back to ballad, honestly, that's on character for all of us. So like, it's
It
fine.
really is. Everything goes back to ballad.
No,
I feel like I
literally.
have several comments throughout these chapters that are just
No,
like, oh,
same,
ballad.
same. We need to do like a drinking game where like when we say everything goes back to ballad, we have to take a shot.
Huh.
Because it's true.
That would not work out well for me. Okay. Where are we in chapter 5? So Coin has just made the announcement at the end of chapter 4 that the victors will have immunity and Katniss is going to be the Mockingjay, or else.
Very threatening.
And Chase, I feel like you should talk about this because you were saying how much you really liked the opening of chapter 5.
Yeah, that's when I reread it last year. This was probably my favorite page in the entire book because I really like that beginning paragraph. I think it summarizes the entire series up until this point in a very a very visual way almost. There's lots of metaphors and I don't know. I just really like it, especially the part where she says, the rebels ensnared me in the metal claw that lifted me out of the arena, designating me to be their Mockingjay, and then having to recover from the shock that I might not want the wings. And then I also like when she says, and Coin with her fistful of precious nukes and well-oiled machine of a district, finding that it's harder to groom a Mockingjay than to catch one. I just think that's like some of Suzanne's best writing in this whole series, really.
I agree.
I wish I could remember my original thoughts about Coin reading the book for the first time because she's very sus. Whereas like in the movie, she's not as much.
Yeah. Her and Plutarch confused me the most for the longest time until the Mockingjay movies came out. And then I was like, got it. But until then, I was like, y'all are all over the place. I don't know how I feel. Even reading like the end of Mockingjay, I was like, I'm still not certain about what happened. Because I was like, I know we're reading this through Katniss's lens, and you know this from the previous 2 books. She's not always the most reliable narrator, and things are through her own interpretation, but we see her be wrong about stuff sometimes. So I'm like, what is happening? And then like the movies offer kind of a more third like person perspective or whatever, and I'm like, okay, y'all are just shifty and weird. Got it.
I feel so bad for Katniss, like in this chapter too, like her thinking that if she got away from like the capital, she could be more herself, and it's all still just a different kind of game.
It's all the same for her. Like, people just like use her. It's very like, I mean, she's how old in this? Like 17, 16, 17? Like, if I were, the head of some sort of, or the face of a propaganda campaign in a war at this age, I would have a panic attack. I don't know how the heck she handles it, like with all the stuff that she's been through.
Well, she does.
I mean, yeah, but like I just think it's so interesting to like see her, even though she kind of disagrees with everything that's going on, she's kind of forced to just go along with it. Like, it's very direct, if that makes sense. Like, they're very direct towards her, and they want her to be this face of this war that she really didn't have any peace in.
She really doesn't have any options.
She doesn't. But I also like how...
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead, please.
No, you were saying something.
I was just saying that, like, how even though, like, there are 2 sides clearly in this book, like, or I guess the rebels and the capital, that both sides are very gross, and there's no real good in any side when it comes to war, especially. This is like when I read the book, I was like, oh, Quinn, I love her. Like, yes, I stand. But then like when I reread it, I mean, like, of course, at the end, you're just like, oh, yeah, no, I hate her, blah, blah, blah. But when I reread it, the nuances that Suzanne puts into a lot of her dialogue and like into a lot of like what Katniss thinks of her, it's like kind of subtle. And it just shows how much that like nobody can be trusted in war. Like no side can be trusted, if that makes sense. That was a bit of a ramble.
Which I feel like is exactly what Suzanne wants you to get from Mockingjay.
Oh, 100%. I mean, she also goes very like anti democracy a little bit at the end of chapter 6.
Yeah.
Which we'll have to talk about for a bit. I love that whole dialogue.
It's so funny how they have to like it's all very Hollywood, like that they have to make her look ugly, but like, or not ugly, but like the scars and everything,
war
like
torn.
They're trying to, yeah, even though she already is that way, but they need to do it in a more attractive way, which is like ridiculous.
Go back to Beauty Base Zero.
I love the comment that she says about her scar when Fulvia sees it and like is having some sort of gag reflex, and she's like, wow, for like, you know, working with a game maker, she's so sensitive, but I guess she's only used to seeing this kind of stuff on a TV screen.
It's so upsetting though. And also like I think before that, when she's talking to her prep team, when her prep team is kind of bringing her back to like that beauty base or whatever, I kind of wish that they had them in the movies as much as I loved how they had Effie back, just because it would have, I think, really highlighted how much the Capitol relies on physical beauty, and also how much District 13 just does not treat people well. I mean, one of her prep team members is just like terrified to talk to her, and then another one is just like, Katniss is not going to hurt us. Like, she tried to save us. Like, she got us out. Like, I love that. I think the disparity is very interesting. And I wish it was shown more in the films.
Yeah, it's so sad. You really feel for, I mean, both of them.
Yeah.
Like what's happened to our prep team, and then Katniss like being in the middle.
But then like that whole scene when they go into the dining hall, which I love that scene so much. When they sit with the table with a lot of the District 12 refugees, and Gale, the only good thing he ever did was make an effort to like talk to them and like include them in conversation.
Oh, we see Gale's family too. Like what?
Yeah. We see Hazel and like Posey. And Posey, I love that comment that she makes where she was just like, oh, I love like your skin or whatever. And Katniss is just like, oh, it's like lipstick. It's a beauty thing. And Gale interjects and is like, oh, Posey would like you better if you had pink skin. It's just like very cute. Like, I love that.
Yeah, some like slight levity, even though it's all incredibly sad.
It's so sad.
I love the description of the food that they're eating too. Like,
oh,
Suzanne is so
like,
good.
Sick.
Like,
it makes me sick.
I'm like, oh, I can taste that. That's disgusting.
It's just like you have to take a cup.
Like
you have to do a couple of
slimy
swallows.
okra soup or whatever it is.
Oh, I know exactly what that is too.
Oh, you do, Jerry?
Yeah.
Ew.
That's definitely
South Carolina things.
Yeah, South Carolina things. And the hash and ballad.
Of like works better in the book than in the movie. You know, like you could see something, like you could look at like a meal that maybe it doesn't look the most appetizing or whatever, but her words.
Yeah, it's so good.
Not
the
to
way
bring up
she describes food.
But it's like if you watch Stranger Things with the subtitles, and anytime there's anything with the upside down, it's like wet squelching. I'm like, please stop, get that subtitle out of here.
Oh.
But yeah, that's what that reminds me of. It's just so descriptive and sometimes to a fault.
Like you have to swallow every bite 3 times before it
That makes
really
me
goes down.
that line makes me physically sick. I hate it. But it's so visceral. She's so good at writing this stuff. I love it.
And then Gale and Katniss have this little convo, which Katniss gets angry
What else is
with him
new?
because he's kind of siding with Coin and how she's like dealt with the situation about the victors.
Yeah.
I like their conversation, how he's like, I still stand by what I said. Do you want me to lie about it? And she's like, no, I want you to rethink it and come up with the right opinion.
No, that's the best line in the entire scene. It's so funny. And like even they both laughed at it. So I mean clearly she still feels a connection towards Gil. She can't be totally mad at him.
Yeah. I mean, and even after that conversation, she's like, well, like at least I always know he's honest with me.
Yeah.
Like I know he's not like putting up, saying anything that he doesn't think, and I can trust him.
And then they go down to the special defense,
which is like the start of all the trap talk.
I hate that. This is when like I really truly just hate Gale. Like I can't deal with him and his like trap thing. Who thinks of, like, I get it, you hunt prey or whatever, but just using that in like humans, like no. But at the end of the day, like at the end of this
somebody's
book,
got to do it though. Somebody's got to think about this stuff.
But like still at the end of the day, like when I read the book the first time, like way back in the day, spoiler, I guess, for this book, when it was kind of basically implied that Gale was the one that set up those bombs that killed Prim, I was shocked. And then I was like, wait, we visited this earlier in the book. Why am I so surprised? And I just hate him. He did it.
These things happen in war.
Can I just point out, I love this sentence, like I get that you like hunt prey or whatever. I want that as like a out of context thing.
I get that you hunt prey or whatever, but really?
Listen, love the idea of like being in a conversation with somebody and telling them, like, I get that you hunt prey. But...
Listen, give me like 3 minutes with Gale Hawthorne. I will read him to shreds. I would ruin his life.
It just reminds me of like, when you're walking on the street and someone's passing you and they're on the phone and you just hear like a fragment of their conversation, like the very famous and they were roommates, meme. It's like that.
Yes.
It's like I get that you hunt prey, but
I love you hunt prey or whatever. But like, honestly, that doesn't mean that you want to like kill people. Like that's so stupid. I'm sorry. Like he's a psychopath. Like but like also like I don't know, this might be a deeper conversation on the podcast, but I when I was rereading these chapters for tonight, I was thinking about war and just like the whole Russia-Ukraine situation, and I was like, like whatever side I was on, I could see myself like at least understanding where Gale was coming from. Like does that make sense? Like I
think about that in the sense of like, if Katniss had never gone into the games herself, like first person, I mean, it would have been a very different story. But I'm just saying, like, hypothetically, like if it had been Prim that went in the games or something, like I feel like Katniss would be more so on the same page as Gale. But because of her firsthand experiences, and it's very much like, and this is true to life too, like in any kind of traumatic event, like you don't know how traumatizing something is until you're actively being traumatized by it. And then you know what it actually is like,
Yeah.
And I think when she was in there, like in the games, even in the Capitol, like right before, like on the train, at every moment, she was able to recognize like all she wanted was like her humanity and like, and for that to be respected. And then seeing other kids from the other district stuff being killed, it's not like, oh, thank God it's not me. You're like, it's still a tragedy. Like that's still a child being murdered,
Yeah.
And then that's still like a child murdering somebody else. and she was able to see more. So like, and it's why I love so much like the remember who the real enemy is, because it's so like poignant. Like you can get so caught up with what's right in front of you and lose sight of like the bigger picture. And I feel like that's really like the difference here, that really like the rift that really starts to settle in between her and Gale is like he can only imagine what it must be like, or kind of hear whatever it is that Katniss says, but he doesn't have that firsthand experience of what that must be like. And I thought about it too. I'm like, I wonder like if Gale had been in the games, would he have a different view? And I actually don't know the answer to that. I kind of go back and forth on whether he would have more humanity for, quote unquote enemies or not. But I definitely feel like, at least for where it's concerned with Katniss, that like she has the experience of being in the games, and she knows like very much like ultimately that's not the point. Like the point is that you want to protect human life, and especially children, and all that, no matter where they're from. And I think this also gets echoed a little later in Mockingjay, or I guess, when she finds like her prep team and stuff, and she's like, they're still people. Like, they might be capital and stuff, but they didn't choose that either. And that's like a big thing, at least to me.
Honestly, Suzanne is brilliant.
Yeah.
She is.
She's written so much depth into this. Like, we're only 3 pages in. Like, there's so much to talk about, because like she just honestly, I don't know if you all saw this viral tweet like that I saw. It was just randomly on my timeline, honestly, this week. Not verbatim, but it was just like this girl that was like, oh, I reread the Hunger Games books since like the early 2000s. Yeah, and like, and she said how much deeper it was, and like more intense than how she remembered or whatever. And like, this writing is so good. Like, this is not, I don't think we're crazy. Like, I think this is like good literature, and it's not just like, a young adult dystopian fiction novel. Like, this is the exception.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be like, in 100 years, this will be like the book to read in the classroom, right? I mean, it already is, but
if we're not Panem by then,
hopefully not.
If we're all still here, as a human race.
Who knows? Listen, we'll get to that at the end of chapter 6. Let's see, what else, y'all? She goes to the like armory,
which they have to do like so many things to get in there. I'm like, that is a little bit excessive. I mean, she says it's excessive, but like a DNA scan
and like retinal scans, and like Beatty has to get out of his little wheelchair and then change into another wheelchair.
It's like Edna getting into her like lair in The Incredibles.
Literally. Like,
I could have done her fingerprints if I had to.
Listen, how do we not know that you were one of the District 13 employees there?
Exactly. Get off your thumb, they'll never find you.
That's some harsh security, but I would not be surprised with District 13. But like, I just thought, like, when I was reading this passage, when like she goes into like the fake meadow situation with Beatty and the hummingbirds, like, I'm so they didn't do that in the Mockingjay Part 1. They just really only showed it Mockingjay Part 2, right?
It was a deleted scene, I think.
Yeah, and like, that's messed up.
Yeah.
Like, because I think that was such a beautiful set, and it was exactly like how I pictured it, almost. I mean, it was so gorgeous, and the fact that they deleted it, only had it for Finnick and Annie's wedding, which I'm glad they had, but I'm so mad. I'm so mad about it.
Yeah, seeing more of District 13, especially areas that are not just like the gray walls, I feel like would have been good.
Really? Ugh. But I do like the scene a lot. And then when he talks, Gale, the one who must not be named, I hate him, talks about the hummingbird traps. which are just kind of serial killery, like when he talks about them.
Yeah, they are. But
No.
somebody's got to be thinking about this kind of stuff.
I hate it. Gail was the wrong choice for this.
I mean, similar to like what we were talking about, Katniss like agrees that
Yeah.
she would, if she had a weapon, she'd like blow everybody up too, like to fight back. But she also says like, but I don't know what to tell him about the aftermath of killing a person, about how they never leave you. Like,
Yeah.
so she really knows like the cost and the effect on killing people, which Gil doesn't.
And I feel like when they go to the nut later and like they bomb the nut, I mean, she has that speech with Gail where she's just like, because it was his idea, and she basically was just like, I can't believe you've done this. Like, it's like I feel like she kind of gets it now that like it's not, human life is not anything to be played with in a situation like this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, I feel like it definitely changed her dynamic, if that makes sense. At least the bombing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because she tied it into losing her father and Gail's father too.
Yeah.
In the mining accident.
And yet Gail didn't even see it.
Well, then they're also in a real situation, like where they're making decisions, whereas this kind of, they're talking right now and it's hypothetical.
Yeah. That's why she's so brilliant. Suzanne. Starts out as a hypothetical and then...
I was just going to say she gets her cool new bow.
I'm not mad that they cut that from the movie, but at the same time, it seems cooler in like a book format than it does in a movie
like with the
format.
Voice recognition.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little. It's very sci-fi.
Yes. It hummed it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in the series that's very sci-fi, but like that one, I feel like was just like a step too far. I don't know.
It's like, hey, this is the future, in case you were not sure.
Yeah.
And like, cue like the Jetsons theme song. Like, I don't know.
Like, it's a voice by Siri, like, because you just ask it for directions. Like, what? But like, also, like, what's the point of having a bow that just recognizes your voice and vibrates in your hand? Like, can you use it if it's not Katniss? Like,
nobody can like steal it from her and then use it against her.
I just.
I don't get
silly.
it.
It's very silly. I mean,
and then telling it good night.
Yeah, that was that's very. I mean, the nightlock thing I can get, for the Hollow, but like this other advanced piece of technology, we're just like, good night. I hate it. I think it's just it's awful. It's an awful idea. Just give her just a normal bow. I think it's interesting how she spent so much time on like describing the bow and how it works. When like in the movie they did it in like a very quick amount of time and they didn't need to have like the voice recognition or whatever, and it still did its job.
I love when we get to the part where she mentions the line that they are going to give her to say, the people of Panem, we fight, we dare, we end our hunger for justice. That's the line. I can tell by the way they present it that they've spent months, maybe years, working it out and are really proud of it. Like Lionsgate.
That one is so good. Literally. They've had the tagline for Ballad for at least a year at this point.
They're like, this is going to be perfect. Like this is going to get the fandom going.
And then we're all like, what is this?
Again?
Like, two star-crossed lovers, like, whatever the heck they're doing right now with their marketing.
Unless they put Enjoy the Show on the poster, then, they're on the right track.
God, I really hope. I mean, they're going to have that in the movie from what I know and understand. Enjoy the Show thing. And I'm very excited for it.
Me too.
That's all I'll say about that. It's the best part. It's so funny to me. But I think the part... Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna talk about the end. So
Oh, I was gonna say like just I think in the movie like in Mockingjay Part 1, that whole scene was so well done. Like the people of Panem, like Jennifer Lawrence acted so badly, but so well. Like she acted like a bad actress perfectly.
Yes. That's so
it's
hard to
good.
do, I imagine. And she's so that it's so good. Because I feel like, especially in that scene, to me, it was just like you forget that she's not a real person and that it is at the end of the day just an actor doing that. But it's so like, I don't know, she got the mannerisms down. I don't know what it is, but
I feel like she just acted like herself, like in real life, like Jen. Because I
but
feel
not
like I
fun.
kind of see her coming through like a little
100%.
bit during
Mhm.
that, which is fine, but it's just ridiculous.
The little CGI background with like the destroyed city.
Which I hate the little promo that they put in the movie because
Oh, I
it's too
know. It
much
looks
like
so
the
bad.
actual like trailers and stuff. It's too no, it
It
takes me out
reminded
of it.
me of like when I went to the exhibition and you can take like photos at the end, like when you come out of it and you're back in the gift shop or whatever.
Mhm.
And you know, and like they do this a lot in like theme parks and whatever, like when you take like a photo and there's like a CG, like a green screen background or something, and it's just kind of like very obviously like a curated image. Like that's what it made me think of. It's like, oh, this is
It was
a war theme park. Like here's a little video to go with it.
Oh gosh.
it was very that whole video was very off-putting, but honestly I kind of loved it because it was kind of camp to me.
Yeah.
I can't.
People of Panem, we fight, we dare, we end our hunger for
For
justice.
justice.
It's
And
so
then
cringe,
Plutarch.
but like, oh god, he's just so upset.
But it's
To
so
be
good because
honest,
oh, go ahead, Chase.
sorry, go ahead. I never thought the one with the city and all the people around there, I never thought that sounded that bad. I've always been like, why were they freaking out over that? I mean, it looked fake, but I never thought it was like the worst thing on earth. Am I the only one?
I
Just
thought the
tell
same
me.
thing.
It's okay.
No, I thought the same thing.
Yeah, I
To
always
me-
thought
I
it could be a lot worse. I felt like they could have made it worse.
It could have been a lot worse. I didn't think it sounded great though, but I did think it could have sounded worse.
It
To
was
me,
like
it-
that moment when you're watching the Olympics and you're like, that was amazing. And they're like, that was a horrible mistake. You're like, oops.
Did you not see her
That's like,
wimble?
What a
No,
blunder.
I couldn't do that if I tried.
to me
That's a
it
good
captures
comparison.
like the perfect amount of awkwardness because they're like the whole thing about that and like why it doesn't work and like how Hamish like points out why it doesn't work is because they're trying to like create something that needs to happen organically on its own. And so it's not like that it's bad, but I don't think it's effective in the way that it is when you just let Katniss react to something and then you record like her reaction because that's what makes you feel
Yeah.
thing.
yeah.
And so I feel like it's the little like propo thing has that perfect amount of slight awkwardness. It's not like fully cringe, but it's not something that would move you to war either.
Right.
It's like perfectly in that in between zone where you're like,
Mediocre.
that's cool,
Yeah.
but it's not going to motivate me to join the rebel cause necessarily. It might be like, that's cool that y'all are doing that. I'm going to sit here and hope for the best. But then like when you see her like in, you know, reacting to like a destroyed District 12 or in District 8 or something, and you're seeing her like natural tears and reactions with no like script or whatever, that's so much more compelling.
Yeah.
All we
And-
need is a bombed out hospital full of dead women and children, you know. It'll inspire her immediately.
We'll get that in the budget. It's fine. And
it's kind of sick that they like did that, but at the same time I'm just like, you know, it works, I guess. Like it moves the cause, I suppose.
yeah, I mean, and they didn't go over there with the intention of that happening. I think they just kind of the risks no matter what. And like Katniss says, you know, because Coin's like, what if you die? And she's like, make sure you get it on camera or whatever. And it's like, yeah, like everyone I think at that point is very aware of the risks involved and like what ends up what could end up happening to them. But it's just about like make it count. Make it count for something. Don't let it be in vain.
She's a teenager having to deal with all of this. I couldn't even
I know.
imagine. I couldn't deal with this.
I
So chapter
love
6.
the end of chapter 5, how Haymitch just comes in. It's
Uh,
like, oh, I missed Haymitch. And that ending line, I feel like this is one of my favorite chapter endings. And that, my friends, is how a revolution dies. So good.
I'm so happy they kept that in the movie. Like, it was so
It's
perfectly
perfect,
done.
yeah.
The slow clap
The slow
that Woody
clap.
Harrelson did.
And so I guess Haymitch calls a meeting to talk about how terrible that propo was.
Which
Oh,
they have some very valid points. Oh, wait, what were you saying?
And make sure we
Okay.
include the most random person in District 13, Dalton from.
Yeah,
District
D10
for some
represent. Yeah, it makes no sense. There's no explanation for why he's there.
I can't even imagine why Suzanne was like, yeah, let's just do this. Let's just put him in there. But
All
she
for
did.
that one line at the end about the makeup.
Literally,
like, why?
literally any other character could have said that. This chapter is really short though, and like it is kind of, I'm glad how they did it in the movie because it is a lot more condensed, but it still gets to the point.
Mm-hmm.
Which gives me faith. Hashtag going back to ballad. That they know what they're doing and they can like cut some stuff down in a smart way.
Mm-hmm. Consolidate things.
Yeah. Because I mean, this scene definitely could have been consolidated, but
The one thing. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, please.
I was just gonna say, and this we may not be there yet, but the one thing that I was kind of mad that they did cut out of the movie, I know it's a deleted scene, is when they finally have that confrontation of like, okay, go ahead and say it. Like you let him out of your side, and you didn't get him out alive. Like both of us are in the wrong.
That was.
I hate that they
That's
deleted that out
such a
of the final
mistake.
cut. I agree because it explains her anger a little bit more, and it always kind of opened my eyes to the fact that Katniss stuff too. Like she didn't fulfill her end of her end of the deal either.
Yeah, I mean,
Keeping him
because
alive. So
the last time we saw them together, it was like on the hovercraft
When she was attacking him.
Yeah, she's attacking him. So I feel like we needed to see that conversation between the two of them. One thing I didn't realize about that conversation, though, was that she's the one who says, we're still in the game. Whereas I think the deleted scene, he says it more as like encouraging to Katniss.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's like she's saying it a little bit more. Like there's more behind that when she's saying that. She's like, we're still in the game. Like almost in a kind of sad way. Like thinking about the ways in the last 2 chapters where she's reflected on like being a piece in this new game. I don't know. I like that it's more of a Katniss line in the book.
It's so sad. It's like, give this girl a break. Let her just like go to the mall and have fun. She's a teenage girl.
Shopping montage.
One thing I
Literally.
noticed that made me really sad on the top of 75 when she's seeing like or listening to Boggs talk and he brings up the moment when she sang to Rue in the arena and she thinks like somewhere in my head an image surfaces of Boggs with a young boy perched up on his hip in the dining hall. I think maybe he's not a robot after all, and I'm like, oh no, Boggs was a dad.
So sad.
Which I mean, like, I guess that makes sense, but just the fact that like it points it out in the book, I'm like, oh, Boggs. Why did Boggs have to go?
He was so pure. Like that scene
great.
absolutely ruined
Like he doesn't
me.
get enough like appreciation, I don't think.
And like Mahershala Ali, who played him, was so good.
So
like
good.
He was the perfect Boggs. He was so sweet.
It also, though, to me, reveals something a little dark because, like, obviously, it's been said throughout the book that, like, the Capitol and District 13 have a lot of similarities. And him saying that means that they've been watching the games, or at least the past two, which is kind of like, why were you actively participating in that? Because it's not like people don't know who these, Katniss and Beetee, they know who all these people are, which is kind of creepy in a way, because that makes them just as complicit in consuming the games as the Capitol.
Yeah, it kind of makes me feel because Katniss gets upset, like with Boggs. They're having like a conversation later in the chapter. And I don't know. Yeah, that makes me like feel it for Katniss a little bit more. She gets angry that like they were just sitting around doing nothing underground while all of this was happening.
It's
And
like
yeah,
in
they were just
Divergent,
watching.
in the third book, the people, I didn't reread that book. So the people in the airport are always watching in Chicago. So they know Tris and they know Foy. They know all these people. And it's like, well, why haven't you done anything to help? And then it just kind of reinforces that. And I know they give some justification for why they didn't as far as District 13, but it's like, well, then why were you like actively watching the games and learning about the game? Like, I don't know.
It
That
is just kind of
shows you
creepy feeling
Yeah,
in
It
a way.
is.
Yeah.
But I think that just goes to show how like you can't really trust any side in the situation.
It really stood out for me. Like, he was watching.
It's gross.
Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah, I mean, they have the excuse, I guess they gotta like keep up with what, is going on with the Capitol and stuff. But I mean, it could just be as much entertainment for them as like the Capitol people, honestly.
Yeah, I just think that's one more similarity between them.
Do we think we'll get any District 13 teas in Ballad?
We're talking about Ballad again?
Why not?
Anything.
I don't know.
It'd be cool if there was just like a passing line or something. I mean, the Snows lost all of their money from
Yeah,
District
that's true.
13, so I feel like that actually might get brought up at the beginning.
I would hope so. I would really just like some sort of callback to that.
And then
I'm not
when they're
saying, like-
talking about running away in District 12, I mean,
Yeah,
they talk about people being somewhere. Maybe they'll hint more
Mhm.
heavily to it being District 13.
we'll see like a young Julianne Moore just like hanging out in District 12. Like, I mean, maybe it is. Maybe Lucy Gray is President Coin. I don't know. I'd be so mad if they did that, but still.
I think that'd be an easy line for like Grandmam or something to say, like being bitter towards 13 or something like
Yeah.
that. I'm glad they destroyed them. That would be easy tie-in without having to get into too much detail. Like, here's the Snow, financial plan. Here's, like that would get a little hectic, I think.
Yeah.
If you just had her be like, I'm glad they obliterated them, that'd be a perfect like hint.
Meryl Streep could do that pretty well.
I
Yeah.
agree.
If you knows, you knows.
If he knows, you knows.
Which we
Imagine
know.
like, oh, sorry.
I was just about to say, like, we know that Grandmam is going to be in the movie now because Nina confirmed it, along with
Someone great.
Somerville coming back for costuming, which is very exciting.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, imagine like Snow's shock when he found out that District 13 wasn't actually like destroyed like that, but like there was like a stalemate or whatever. Like all that struggle of his family, his family not having the financial ability to live the life that he should have because of the war. Like, if there ever is a sequel to the prequel, I feel like that would be like an interesting story to like for Suzanne to develop and go along with.
That just shows you how scared he must have been of them, because I could see him just flying off the cuff and just being like, yeah, go actually destroy them now, like blow them to bits. And that just shows you how scared and how powerful they actually were, which makes you wonder, why didn't they do anything to help?
They were waiting for Katniss, that's why.
Yep.
We get some Finnick.
Oh,
We were
husband,
robbed.
husband,
Release the tape.
literally
No.
release the Finnick underwear tape. It's fine.
The meme with like I can't remember his name, trying to like get into the chain link fence, and he's like, "Let me in."
Oh,
Yes.
they were just
You know what I'm talking
Holly
about.
and Tina were just talking about it the other day.
But that meme, "Let me in."
Yeah, let me in, let me in.
Well, I mean, I'm glad that we went with
Eric.
Sam Claflin because Sam Claflin, or not Sam Claflin, Army Hammer was in talks to play Finnick for
Oh
a good
God.
bit, which I'm glad we dodged that bullet. Let's just say.
Me too, even though he was my dream fan.
He was my dream
It's-
cast. Oh my God.
Thank you.
No, wait.
I have been
Emily,
alone. I have been
Emily,
alone.
did you like ever read Victor's Village?
Oh yeah, the open letter and everything.
Oh yes.
Like his wife commented on it.
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
I was so my God. I'm so glad that you understand this. But like he was so close to play Finnick, and I was so here for it. I was like, yes, he can tie knots. He's handsome. But then now I'm
He
like,
was perfect.
but now I'm like,
spin.
So
Yeah.
glad.
now I'm just like, oh wait, he can tie knots. Oh no, like
The universe knew,
the Hunger Games.
we were protected from
Oh, no.
that
Literally.
situation.
Guys, think about it. The Hunger Games.
Oh,
Oh no, AJ.
Experience
I don't know
killer.
if y'all have seen the
He's
trailer for that documentary, but I will
yes,
not
I have.
because I know that will be triggering AF. But I
Well,
am legitimately scared of that.
let's just say that he's the reason why cannibalism is the number one unspoken rule of the Hunger Games, according to Kevin.
Yeah, no, that's a weird time.
But Finnick,
Anyway,
our sweet summer
Claflin,
child,
woo!
loves Sam Claflin. Thank
Glad we
God.
dodged that bullet.
Sam is so nice.
I know,
He's so
unproblematic.
nice.
just here for the good times,
I never got a signature from him, but he was so apologetic both times that he couldn't sign for everybody.
So I was looking through my copy of Mockingjay. I have signed from like the red carpet, and all the signatures kind of just look like blurry messes. So I spent an entire afternoon going on Google and being like typing in Jennifer Lawrence autograph and like comparing the signatures because I had no idea. And I didn't realize that Sam Claflin signed mine, but he was so sweet and like just such a genuine, pure child. I wish that he could come back for Ballad for some part. I don't care who he plays. Like,
just come back to the red carpet.
Just honestly, like he might. Like, I mean, at the New York City premiere, Candace Cameron from Full House was there for some reason, and she walked the red carpet. And I asked her why. I was like, "Why are you here?" She signed my book. She signed my book, and I was like, "Why are you here?" And she was like, "Oh, it's just around."
Oh my gosh.
Imagine
Get a break in her Hallmark schedule.
Literally, like I have my picture with her, and then I was like, "Oh wait, you're kind of I don't agree with your views politically. I don't know how I feel about you." She's a little crazy. So who knows? We can get Sam Claflin to come to the red carpet. It's fine. If Candace Cameron can go, so can Sam Claflin.
Guys, this
Jojo
is
Siwa.
Oh my God. I'd cry. I'd stand.
I love that.
Imagine her. I mean, she has similar outfits to Lucy Gray. I mean, especially the reaping outfit. I could see that being a JoJo Siwa fit.
That I learned about JoJo Siwa is like the most random. Like I don't seek out the information, but I just love her more and more. Like every time I learn something about her.
Oh,
but what I was gonna say is off topic. But today my friend and I went to go get ice cream near Rock Center, Radio City, whatever, where Jimmy Fallon is filmed. And DJ Khaled was going into the Jimmy Fallon building, and there was like a crowd and people with like big like picture signs of DJ Khaled, and I was just like, where am I? Like, how did this happen? And that's all. It's unrelated. I just forgot that happened today. And there was like this like truck thing that was parked outside the whole time, and it had like a big screen on the side of it that I guess was playing like a music video. It didn't have any music playing. It was just like DJ Khaled and people screaming and like holding their phones up trying to like I guess get a picture of him or something, and I'm like, guys, it's DJ Khaled, like calm down. It's okay.
I mean, so what you're saying is you want DJ Khaled on the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes
Yes, that was
soundtrack.
my way of bringing that up.
Are you coming to the tree?
Another one.
I would
DJ
cry.
Khaled.
Oh my god, you have like Lucy Ray who like starts singing, and then you hear like kind of faintly in the back, "We the best music."
He just like comes out of the forest, like,
Oh my god, please.
oh, I stand.
New York's not real, guys.
It's not real. It's not a real place. Anyway, Mockingjay.
Mockingjay.
Well, it gets to page 83, and I feel like this is where I'm just like have ballad on the brain because it's about becoming a peacekeeper.
Oh,
and,
yes.
Like how people in the capital have debts or they become a peacekeeper to avoid punishment. Also, they like can't get married, they can't have children.
Interesting.
And how they kind of had to shift to like District 2 to get peacekeepers because most capital people who are raised capital are not going to want to do that. It's their profession.
That's why it was such a shock for Coriolanus when he got enlisted, because he was like, no, this isn't what we do. Like,
just makes me wonder how much Suzanne knew at this point.
I know.
Because
like, I mean, we get, I hate her, but like J.K. Rowling will just be like, oh, I thought about this, like,
no, you didn't.
Weird plot thread. I know, it's just like, no, you didn't, girl. But I wish that Suzanne kind of had more of an open dialogue with the public so that we could ask her questions like this of like how much
she was
has
asked the question like how much she knew about Lucy Gray, and she was like, well, I knew she existed and I knew that there was, you know, the Victor that I allude to in the trilogy, but that's all she gives us.
Suzanne likes to answer questions with like riddles, and I feel like she's like,
no, she's the Riddler
for the next 10 years.
She's literally the Riddler. Well, also like I was reading, so I'm doing auditions soon, so I've been learning like a lot of monologues from like different shows, and like one of them is like a Shakespeare show. It's Coriolanus, and I was rereading it, and the storyline is literally like almost verbatim ballad. Like it's about a general named Coriolanus who gets ostracized because he commits like some sort of treasonous thing, who gets ostracized out into like the outer country and as like a military person. And it's very like, when I was rereading it, I was like, oh my god, Suzanne, girl.
and you know his manipulative mother, Volumnia?
literally like it's so it's just read the summary of Coriolanus because it is so similar to ballad. I didn't realize the connection until recently, and I was like, wait, that makes so much sense, because she does go back onto like a lot of Shakespeare and like Greek myths and like classic. You know, the Lucy Gray poem. It's she has some depth. I love her so much. Oh my god, I hope she writes another one.
Yeah,
me too. Bring us the Tigress book.
No, literally.
Because that's like the thing too. I'm like, okay, why would you introduce Tigress as being, you know, that closely related to
and then not tell us anything about it?
Exactly.
The elephant in the room or the tiger in the room when you get to Mockingjay. Because I mean, it takes on a completely different like meaning almost, like, because when you didn't know that they were related and you're just like, you know, and she's like, until Snow decided I wasn't pretty enough, you're like, okay, yeah, he's just like petty and shallow and like whatever, you know. But this is like, no, this had to be personal, and I need to know what that is. I have like my own little headcanons and theories, but I need it confirmed. Like I need to know what Suzanne, like how it is for Suzanne.
Like, did she know that when she wrote the character of Tigress? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think so, because there wasn't really any like nuance with that. But I mean, who knows with that line where she's like, Snow wanted me away or whatever.
Maybe like she knew that if there was a relation there of some kind, but like not exactly what it was.
She needs an in-depth like interview. Like somebody needs to like just talk to her. Like a stan needs to talk to her for like 3 hours and just ask her everything.
Right.
Be like,
I
listen,
volunteer.
no more BSing
Literally.
around.
Round table.
Yeah.
I feel like she would have a lot of interesting stuff to say, but like I'm kind of glad that she's out of the public spotlight because
Yeah.
we don't want it to turn into a JK situation.
Yes, exactly. That's my. I
Yeah.
die if like she turned out problematic.
Yeah.
I would. I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle
That's the
it.
thing.
I don't think
Like,
she
if you're gonna be
is, but
problematic,
like,
keep that to yourself. Like, if you're gonna have bad takes and bad opinions and views and stuff, that's fine, but keep that to yourself. You know, like, I don't want to know about it.
I
And
mean,
I
at the
feel
very
like,
least, she wrote two like canonically queer characters in Ballad.
yeah,
that have
So
a
I'm like,
purpose in the
okay,
story, like that aren't just there for like
yeah, and so
I
I mean,
still
I'm
feel like
upset.
she could be like a little bit more active and present though, while
there's definitely
still
an in
That's
between.
true.
like, I don't know. I
100%.
think about like Stephanie Meyer, and I feel like she doesn't really talk about anything personal, but she still like is
It's
a
only
little bit
because
more out there with fans and stuff.
That makes sense.
her brother, like Stephanie Meyer's brother, like kind of does the whole fan interactions from what I understand. Like he's the one that answers fan mail and stuff.
Yeah, like he
And
was
she
always
like,
running her website and everything.
yeah, but like
Yeah.
Suzanne, girl, we need to hear from you. How are you doing? Like, what's going on?
Miss Girl.
Literally. I mean, she's kind of she's in Connecticut, right?
Yeah.
Think so.
I just
That's what
imagine
it said on the
Suzanne
cover.
like living in a log cabin in an undisclosed American place and just
No,
middle of
literally.
nowhere in the
it has
wilderness.
yeah, like I just like her source of like or like light is like little like camping lanterns. Like that's just what I picture in my mind when I think of Suzanne Collins.
It's near the end of Breaking Bad.
Oh my god. Yes.
Well, now I think we got to the last page where we talk about history and democracy,
And democracy.
a little bit.
We got a lot to say about this. I love how unimpressed Katniss is about it. Because I mean, with how things are going in our country right now, maybe an unpopular opinion, I don't know, but democracy isn't working out so well. Things are kind of falling apart. And I just think it's funny that Suzanne kind of just like calls that out a little bit. Like she knew back in when I think this book was published in 2010. Like she kind of saw the faults in our system.
I really thought you were going to say in
then.
our stars. I don't know why.
She found the fault. She found the fault in our stars. I think that she kind of saw the faults in our systems back then, and like you can tell with Ballad, like she's definitely influenced by current political / just everything else that's going on. Like when she wrote that book, at least I'd like to think. But she's prolific. She's so prolific for me.
Yeah. I don't want to tie us back in the Ballad again, but
Oh no.
Listen,
Go ahead. That's
everything
what we're
goes
here
back
for.
to Ballad.
she's like
That would
really
be so uncharacteristic. Sorry. Go ahead.
she's really intentional about like what she writes and how she writes, because I have a theory that she wrote Sejanus in the mind of a white supremacist, and like the little like words she says, like you can like if you think hard enough about it, it's like, oh yeah, that's exactly like how they think. And like the little like one example I always use is like when they're at the lake and he's looking at the Mockingjays. He said something about how the Mockingjays are infesting the world, or like it's not pure, and that's like a line of like phrasing that white supremacists use about minorities. And so I think that's like, yeah, she is really intentional about like the words she says, and like, yeah.
I mean, even things like the fact that Snow's name is Snow, and he has like long hair, and
and blue eyes, very Nazi-ish. Very Nazi.
Especially because Suzanne is so intentionally vague about the race of many other characters.
Yeah.
And she definitely picks and chooses like who she describes. You know, it's not like it's all around, like everybody gets a clear description. It's like she talks, like when she does describe a character, it's like non-specific, you know,
Yeah,
like
she tells us what's
Yeah.
important. Like, so
exactly.
if it's important, if it means something, we know.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, that to me was always like a big thing. I agree with you, Jerry.
And when you talked about Nazi just now, I listened to the audio commentary of part 2 the other day, and Nina Jacobson and Francis Lawrence were all talking about how Nazi Germany and communist Russia was like a big influence of how they showed the Capitol, and like President Snow himself, like during the roundtable meeting, it was kind of like Nazi, like the end days of the Nazi Germany and Hitler. They specifically brought that up. So I feel like with them and with Suzanne, it's all intentional in that aspect.
Yeah.
And with Ballad, like how you said, it looked very communist or what was it, Soviet Union kind of like style. And I really see that, and I feel like that's the vibe that's going to be, or that's the vibe that they're going with Ballad.
I'm also curious, like, because Jerry, you just mentioned how like the way he talks about the Mockingjays and them being quote unquote like impure or whatever. It also reminds me of like the way he talks about Lucy Gray, like, or like thinks about her, like to himself, like how he justifies his opinions of her. Well, she's not really district because this and this and this and whatever. And it's like that reading that was like so uncomfortable. Like, I mean, for so many reasons, you know, but definitely that. And that's something that I wonder about with the movie, you know, because I'm like, how are you going to show that, or to what extent? Because that's very much, at least to me, that's very much like
it's an important part, I think.
Yeah, but it's very important to understand how he views Lucy Gray as a pawn more so than a person. Like he views her as like, oh, I can use her to advance my own personal gain, and then he develops his weird feelings for her, whatever those are, but they're not like, but the minute that she becomes a threat, like all of that goes out the window, like that, like he doesn't view her with any kind of humanity. So I feel like that also is a comment, you know, like there's just so much in there. And yeah, Suzanne really just comes out of the woodwork when she's like, I got something to say. You guys need to all be reminded of a few things. I'm just gonna write a book, and then I'm gonna disappear into the woods.
Remind us again, Suzanne. We need more.
Literally.
There was also one other aspect. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
No, please tell us.
Oh,
yeah.
There was like after the bombing in the arena, they talked about how they took the district kids to a veterinarian instead of like the actual hospital.
Oh yeah.
And in history, that's like what happened with the minorities and people of color. How they weren't really like taken serious with they weren't taken to a hospital. They were taken to an actual veterinarian. So I feel like that was like very, very intentional for Suzanne to show.
Yeah. It's the same thing with like the zoo thing where they held them in a zoo. I mean, they used to do that even in like New York City in like the early 1900s. They would have like quote unquote pygmy villages where they would have just like Black people that they basically kidnapped from Africa and just like put in these little like cages essentially for display. And it's disgusting. And I just think it's so interesting how Suzanne kind of calls back to that sort of mentality, because I do think that like we are kind of getting closer and closer to a sort of regime like that. Like I don't want to say it's going to be as extreme or whatever, but like there are people that are more okay with that sort of idea, if that makes sense now, than there were, you know, decades ago.
Well, like not to be like super cynical and depressing, but like there was a time, like,
it's the Hunger Games, we have to be.
No, I know. But like there was a time in Germany, like at one time Hitler was like a popular person, you know, people loved him, and like that's how we ended up with what happened, you know. And
Yeah.
Ballad feels like a cautionary tale of that, of like, yeah, they're a person until like you realize that they're awful, and that when they're capable of like these really, I mean, literally war crimes, you know. And like the original franchise is that, but it's like through Katniss's perspective, but this is more like from the opposite side and seeing how like that works. And I'm of the belief, like, you know, if you want to like be an enemy, you have to like understand where they're at. Like you have to kind of understand where they're coming from or like how they think, you know. Like I don't know if I don't think I'm explaining this well, but Ballad sort of offers that kind of insight of like, this is how they view things, this is how they see people
Yeah.
and see themselves. This is how this happens. It's not like somebody had like a tragic origin story and now they're a dictator out of nowhere. Like this is how it happens.
It builds up and builds up, and it's not
Yeah.
like alone. He had help too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had help, he had influence and was influenced, and all of that comes together, and it's like a perfect storm. But even before Gaul and stuff, like to me reading Ballad, I was like, Snow was a bad seed like from the start, you know. Like there was no redeeming him at any point in my eyes. But it's interesting to see how like you can add fuel to that fire, not to make like a Katniss analogy here, but like, you know, like there's clearly already something in him that makes him predisposed to certain behaviors, and then like with the wrong influence or the wrong like people around, that can just be exacerbated, you know. I don't know. It's fascinating. It drives me crazy at the same time. Like it scares me, but I need more of it, but I want to stay away from it. I don't know.
Yeah, hitting cabbage was the first red flag for me, you know.
Yeah.
Which
Ballad
feels
is
like
so good.
Yeah.
Suzanne is so good.
She's a genius.
Like
she's
I've met
absolutely-
people who remind me of Snow, or like Snow reminds me of people that I've met in real life, and like how terrifying that is. I don't know. Jerry and I talked about this earlier, like on our own, but just like when you're faced with somebody who has no empathy or very low levels of empathy, it's like the most terrifying thing, at least to me.
Yeah.
Like when you can see it in another person.
Because they're capable of anything.
Yeah, they have nothing to
Yep.
lose. They don't care. And that's like a really scary thing. Yeah. I don't wish that on anyone. I don't wish for anyone to look a void in the eye. It's the most unsettling thing in the world.
Which is why I think Tom is going to do a great job, because he looks
Yes.
scary.
And I'm
You
so
don't want to
ready.
look him. You don't want to look him in the eyes, like at all. Like
He's a void.
But he's nice. Like watching his interviews is like, yeah.
I have
You don't
He
get
seems-
that. Yeah.
you don't
can
get
go
that.
on
He seems like such a sweet person, but he just looks so mean.
There's a switch that he can turn on, you know.
Yeah.
If I can go on this like little mini autism tangent for 3 seconds, like, so you may or may not know that a very common thing for autistic folks is to have like a hard time making eye contact with people, and that can be to varying degrees and depending on the person, etc. Right? Personally, for me, eye contact is like far too intimate, especially if it's like a complete stranger. It feels like walking in on someone or them walking in on you. Like that's the way I've always described it. And it's just like jarring. And for me, like if I get to know somebody and we become friends or we become close or whatever, it becomes easier to make that eye contact. But another reason why it's so like unsettling for me is the expression that the eyes are the windows to the soul. It could not be more true. I have like kind of 3 categories that people fall into if I make eye contact with them, where there's the one where this is like the good one. This is like best case scenario, right? Where it's like, you're a person with your qualities and your flaws, and like you feel like a real person that feels at least somewhat safe, right? Like baseline safety. Then you have like this kind of in between where it's like, I can just see your bad intentions. Like I can see that you actively seek out harm. And then there's the people that I classify as like a void, which is like you look into their eyes and there is nothing. And that's to me, that's like the most scary, most unsettling thing. And all of this is in my head when I was like reading Ballad, and I'm like trying to think like Gaul would be like in that second category where I feel like you would just be like, she would just be like, she's aware of stuff and she knows how to manipulate and all of that. And then like Snow would be either in that category or in that third one of like, you're a void, like you don't, there's nothing in you. And that's
nothing but evil.
Chapter 30 is definitely the void. Snow.
Yes.
What happened? Sorry.
Chapter 30 is definitely void. Number 30 void.
Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly it. It's like it's looking into that void. And then like what is that like quote where it's like if you stare into the abyss long enough it stares back into you or whatever? Like that, there's all of these things that mix together. It's so good. I just want to hug Suzanne.
It's like, are you okay?
I feel so you know exactly the human experience and how to like translate it into words so beautifully.
Thank God for Suzanne Collins. We stand.
Actually, though, I think about this and I'm like, you know, there's like great authors in history. Like, I don't know, some people might think of Shakespeare or whatever, but it's like we get to live on Earth at the same time as Suzanne Collins. And that's so incredible to me.
And like, I'm so glad that
that's
people
what
I'm
saying. Like 100 years from now, 200 years from now, hopefully, you know, we're all humanity is still here. They're teaching Hunger Games in the classroom, and it's like this classic book, and like we're here, we're alive in the same timeline.
Yeah.
We get to experience all this. There'll at least be like 4 remakes by then. Like,
oh God.
No, I want to see them. I'm sad I won't be around.
I want to see I want to see an HBO Max series of the original trilogy. Like, give me that.
If it's
give
not
me, like,
I want an animation, like an
animation would be so good, so good.
Yeah.
A graphic novel would be really cool.
Yeah,
I think about that all the time, and I'm like,
I can't believe they haven't done it
for it. Yeah, it really should be a thing. See, that would have been an awesome 10th year anniversary thing. But anyway,
right?
God,
it
was so lame. The 10th year anniversary was so lame.
Well,
on that note,
is that it? That's Mockingjay. 5 and 6.
ending the live. I'm like, yeah, some people are void and have no empathy.
Yeah.
And happy Monday. See you
but
next
like
week.
literally though, like
no, it is a happy Monday though. Every Monday night that we get to talk about Hunger Games, even though it's, you know, can be dark.
It makes my week either way. Honestly, I love spending time with you guys. This is very fun.
You know, there's something validating and comforting about acknowledging the dark things in life, you know, and like, I mean, I know for me, that's why I latched onto this series so much, is like, it's validating to hear, even if it's not like you directly, right? But if it's like some, like a lived reality, or if it's just echoing or making parallels to very real things, like it is comforting, not in like, oh, this gives me like cozy vibes, but just like in a way where it's like, no, this is so true to life. I feel like this experience is being validated by this book or the series or whatever. You know, life can be dark. There is suffering in the world, you know, and to not talk about it only adds to it, I feel. So I don't know, it's nice to have something that you can talk about it and find the silver linings in it, or find the lessons and things that you take with you and hopefully apply to your real life, you know?
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, our lives may suck, but at least we're not Katniss Everdeen.
Yeah.
We're not Panem yet.
Whatever. Whatever that means.
Okay. I'm closing it. I'm closing it down.
We're gonna have to have a forced time limit at some point, but nah.
announcements. If anybody's listened this far, I mean, whether you listened live or are listening to it later,
You get a cookie.
thank you.
Literally, like, thank you.
We're doing a watch along on Thursday night. It's gonna be Twilight because Holly and I are heading off to Twilight Land. We're going to Forks next week.
I'm so jealous.
So yeah, we're going for a Twilight festival. So hopefully some in-person content or photos next week. So that's gonna be fun.
So is the Twilight watch along? Can Ronnie come?
If Ronnie can absolutely come.
Can Ronnie join?
Yes. Yeah, we'll just be live on YouTube.
I'd love to. I'm here for it.
Just our regular time. So.
Oh, sweet. I'm free.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, AJ, what were you gonna say?
No, I just said you can sit with us.
Oh yeah, you can absolutely sit with us. We're the cool kid Hunger Games table, watching Twilight. But other than that, I guess join us again next Monday night for more ballad discussion, always, and chapters 7 and 8 of Mockingjay.
Woo!
Mostly ballad.
Mostly ballad, yeah.
Mostly ballad, yeah.
For our Mockingjay read along and how it all connects to ballad always.
Always. Good night.
Bye.
Yep.
Bye.